No, thank you. Well, lovely to meet everyone. Yeah, my name's Kate. I am the early careers recruitment executive for MMR Research, Mathematical Market Research. And yeah, really today I'm here to introduce you to the world of consumer insights and innovation and how we use data to create some of your favorite products for brands all across the world. Um, so yeah, I'll start off the sort of most basic question, but what is it that we do? As I mentioned, we're a market research and innovation agency. We're based in 12 countries globally, but we support brands in over 100 countries, so we're really global. And our focus is on FMCG companies. So this stands for fast moving consumer goods, if you weren't aware. And that really covers things such as food, beverage, home care, and personal care products. And what we specialize in is really focusing on consumer research. So, what is it that people who are actually buying these products think? And sensory research as well. So, we're looking to learn more about how people experience products and packaging in order to help our clients create the most successful products that will really resonate with their target audiences. So here we have, in terms of sort of the clients that we're working with, I'm sure most people will be able to recognize some, if not all, of the brands on the board at the moment. Um, in consumer insights and innovation, you really get the opportunity to work with so many different amazing brands. And within the FMCG space, we work with food companies such as Cadbury, McDonald's, Quorn. We, of course, have our beverage clients such as Coca-Cola, Innocent, Evian. Then in the personal care space, we run projects for brands such as Dove that you can see here, Estee Lauder, and then finally in home care, we work with people such as Vanish. You might spot some outliers on the board as well. So for example, Nike and Bic, who don't necessarily fall into the previous categories, but that just goes to show that there are some other really interesting projects that go on outside of this. But we mostly, in general, are looking at that FMCG sort of food, beverage, home care, and personal care things. Anything you'll find in a supermarket is probably the most simple way to put it. And that's a really cool part of working within this industry. So, with such big clients, you're able to really see the work you have put into something actually hit the shelves in your local Tesco, your local Sainsbury's, and be bought by customers. So as I said, we are a sensory agency, which really helps us with our creativity. We're all about the five senses and the product experience. So of course we have sight, taste, smell, sound, and touch. Um, when we take briefs from a client, the project it will always center around the senses for us. It might be that we have a specific project based on a specific sense, or it could be, let's say, if it's a new product launch, it could be, focusing on the overall sensory experience of the product. And I'm just going to take you through some examples of perhaps how that might look. So, for example, with sight, which is quite self-explanatory, we might be looking at the colour of the packaging, perhaps the shape of the bottle and how that looks on a supermarket shelf. With taste, it could be that we're working on a new product and we're helping our client to understand the level of, let's say, milkiness in a coffee. Or perhaps a client has changed an ingredient in, let's say, their chocolate bar, maybe to be more nutritious or more sustainable. So we'll work with them with a range of different samples to maybe try and keep the taste as similar to the original as possible for their loyal customers. Then when it comes to scent, so this is hugely important when it comes to experience. So no one wants to be cleaning their homes or their clothes with products that don't smell good. I think a bit of research has been done with home care products that people actually want to smell a bit of chemical. It makes them feel like it's actually doing the job it's meant to do, even if it's quite a sort of eco bio product. And then, it could also be the scent of the crisps when you open a crisp packet, and does it smell like what you think you're going to be eating? So sound, is something that is really overlooked when it comes to the effort that goes into this. It's definitely my favorite of the five. When it comes to consumers, you wouldn't think so, but the noise that is made, let's say when you open a can or a bottle of Coca-Cola or any fizzy drink, that has been engineered specifically to create the most satisfaction for consumers. So yeah, there's loads that goes into that that I think, yeah, most consumers don't even think about ever. And then finally, touch. So this again is like all quite self-explanatory, but there are a few different ways that we would do research in touch. So it could be things such as the texture of chocolate. How does the chocolate feel in your mouth after it's melted? How does it feel in your mouth? But it could also be the shape of the bottle in terms of touch. How easy is it to use? Does it fit in your hand? Things like that. So yes, they are the senses and kind of the areas that we research within them. Before moving on to a bit more about us and what we do and different sort of teams and functions within this industry, I just wanted to give you a bit of an overview. So MMR Research is actually part of a family of businesses. We have maybe more traditionally creative sister companies. So you can see here on the board, we of course have Ideal Insight. They are our video production agency. We have Huxley, who we work really, really closely with, and they are our brand strategy consultants. We have Together. So they're our most sort of traditional sort of marketing creative company. So they work on marketing and advertising. And I'm going to go on to it later, but there's lots of collaboration there. But today I'm here really to talk about MMR Research itself, which also has two sections to it. You can see on the board we have our sensory science side of the business. That's made up of food scientists, and it's lots of panel-based research. I won't be going into that so much today, but just to let you know, that is there. And then today, really, what I'm going to hone in on is our consumer research. So we have our quantitative teams, our qualitative teams, and sensory qual. And I'm not going to go into it hugely, but just to let you know, sensory qual is a bit of a fusion team we have. So it's qualitative research, consumer research done by food scientists. So here we have the two main functions of our consumer research. We, of course, have quantitative. I'm sure many people will already know the difference between the two, but just for the sake of today, I'll run you through it. Of course, in quantitative research, we're really looking at numerical data, measurable variables. At MMR, that is mostly done through questionnaires and through surveys, whether that's sending things to people's homes, but also bringing people together and doing it in person. And really with this, we're looking to identify the trends, the patterns, any correlations, and use that to then sort of back data-driven, decision making, do some forecasting for our clients, and our quantitative teams at MMR are made up of people who really love backing their decisions with numerical data and trends. So you might think that that's going to be people who have done stats or maths, but we have people from a complete range of different academic backgrounds. But for those of you who are maybe currently studying or are looking to study things such as sort of mathematics, economics, finance, but maybe you want to apply your data skills, after, let's say, graduation, you want to apply those data skills in a more creative setting, and really use your insights to innovate exciting products. This could potentially be a career path for you that maybe isn't so obvious. And then, of course, qualitative. So a lot of our research is quantitative. As I said at the beginning, MMR stands for mathematical market research, but we also do a lot of qualitative research. So again, I'm sure you're very aware, but we're looking at opinions, motivations and perceptions. We do, for this side of the business, loads of interviews, loads of focus groups, and we also do a lot of observation work as well. So you might have heard of ethnographies. That's where we essentially set up in people's homes to just observe how they operate in their sort of natural environment. So, for example, if we're working on a cereal project, we might go into a family of four's home in the morning and watch how everyone prepares their breakfast and gets ready for school and things like that. So there are methodologies, and that really provides the background, the depth and context behind consumer decisions rather than ticking boxes and infilling numbers. It's really about stories. It's uncovering emotions and beliefs and why people are doing things. And as I went through with quantitative, qualitative research, as I said, it's all about the stories and feelings. And perhaps you're studying, or you will be studying something maybe in a more traditionally creative space, such as maybe languages, or you might be doing something like humanities. It may be that you enjoy the creative or the people aspects of your course or your degree, but you want to then take that and apply that in a more commercial setting, such as FMCG and consumer insights. So the reason for my being here today is, of course, centered around the fact that market and consumer insights can often be overlooked as a creative career. It's easy to think of it as just sort of Excel and numbers, but we're not just data professionals, we're also innovators. That's a really key part of the process and a very creative part of the process as well. So as I mentioned a minute ago, as a business, we're made up of professionals from a range of academic backgrounds. I did give some examples, but when hiring early careers positions at MMR, we are really open to people from a range of degrees. So that could be social sciences, it could be business, humanities, the arts, perhaps something a bit more numerical. What we're really looking for are passionate people who, are really interested in people. That is really the crux of what we do. It's all about understanding people. So those people who are really looking to understand and are interested in the why behind consumer and customer decisions. And then we can then use this to get creative and support our brands in their mission to create, amazing products and amazing packaging, using data to really drive the innovation. And so I'm going to run you through the process. So kind of how we do things. We're really fast paced as a business. We work on lots of different projects. They usually span about 6 to 8 weeks. And here, as you can see, of course, we start with the client briefing. So as I mentioned earlier, this is where we hear, what are the client looking to do? Is it a new product? Is it looking to improve an existing product? Is it about the product itself, the packaging? Or is it all of it? And again, we obviously get information on the sensory attributes. So are we doing a full sensory review, or are we looking to hone in on one particular area? We then design the process. So this is where a lot of the collaborative planning comes in. So it could be potentially that, it's just one team working on it. Maybe it's a small project. It could be that you're working, with qualitative and quantitative together. Or it could be a way bigger project, and I'm going to run you through a case study at the end. It could be a project where we're working with some of our sister companies. Maybe we're looking to do sort of product, packaging, marketing, brand strategy. It really varies, and that's a really exciting part of this type of industry. So once you've designed that process, you're obviously then going to conduct the research. You're going to collect that data, depending on what type of data we're collecting and what team you're in. That will either be qual, quant, whatever it is. It's really varied. We often send out loads of products to people's homes, usually alongside questionnaires and surveys. But we also bring loads of people in as well, and we'll have lots of days where you get to go and conduct that research in person. A really exciting one recently was with Nike and some trainers, and we all went to, well, we all didn't, but the team went to the football ground and were working with people in person, really doing the tests that they needed to do to collect their data. Of course, you analyse the data, so that might be a little bit more numerical analysis with quant, but also with qual as well. It's really looking to hear those stories, make your decision, and then innovate. So really the key part of the process for us, it's not just doing the research that we're all trained to do. It's then about being able to think creatively and look at what that data means based on the client briefing and based on the target group of consumers. And again, this is hugely variable depending on what the brief is. It could be to do with, as I said, the taste of the chocolate, the shape of the bottle, whatever it is. And you're then going to create your reports, create your presentations, and debrief to the client. Which is also a really creative part of the process. So we often create prototypes for our clients. We like to be really creative with our presentations when we go back to them. We get to work with some amazing brands, and there's a reason they come back to us. And I think it's because we really sell our ideas back. We really back the information we're giving them, and we like to give it to them in an exciting, interesting, and fun way. Because that's what this industry is. It's full of loads of people who genuinely find, food, drinks, supermarkets, really cool places with loads of cool products. So once you've debriefed, then, as I said, you get to see your products hit the shelf. So that's why this is a really fun industry for people who want that they want to be able to see the results of their research and their creativity, I guess, in real time. We often, because we do quite short projects, we often have it that a couple of months after you've finished, you'll go into your Tesco's or your Sainsbury's, and something that you have helped to create and design will be in the store, which is always really exciting for everyone. So yeah, as I said, I just want to run you through a bit of a case study just as an example before I close up. And you may not be aware, so Coca-Cola acquired Costa Coffee. So they now own Costa Coffee, and they decided that they would like to create a ready-to-drink range of drinks. Of course, Costa is mostly known as the coffee shop where you go in, you pick up your iced latte, your cappuccino, whereas Coca-Cola, you immediately think of ready-to-drink beverages. So this fusion made a lot of sense for them, right? Let's create a ready-to-drink beverage, but underneath the Costa brand. And this was a completely new venture. So Coke chose to work with MMR to basically create an amazing sensory product experience for consumers without them having to actually enter the coffee shop. So what did we do? As you can imagine, with a new product line, lots of data was going to be needed and collected. And this is exactly what our teams did. So as you can see on the board, we brought together clients, consumers, category experts, and we brought them all to an innovation retreat. And this retreat was focused on all of the sensory aspects of the product. So we ran lots of different workshops, led of course by our sensory teams, to really understand what it was that consumers want from a ready-to-drink coffee, especially one from, such a known and respected coffee brand in the UK. So this is really the perfect example of collaboration between our various teams. So, not only were we looking at the product and the packaging experience, we were also working with colleagues at Huxley on the brand proposition. And as you can see, our experts managed to get this done in 2 days, which is pretty impressive and just goes to show how quickly we work at MMR, but also the expertise of all these different teams that they're able to pull something like that off in such a short space of time. And then the results. So finally, you may have come across these drinks in your local supermarket. I'm certain you've probably seen them somewhere. So that hopefully answers the question as to what the results were. We were really able to provide Costa with innovations backed by data-driven insights to help them launch their ready-to-drink store ranges. And our input wasn't just on the liquid formulation, as I said. So within the can, we of course worked on the coffee itself, but we also helped them to create their packaging and their communication and their branding strategies when launching the range. this, as it says, was, it was their first major project launch since their acquisition. And so what we were really able to help them do is succeed in this new space. And we did this in, a matter of months. So that's a really exciting part, as I said earlier, of the industry, is that, we do work really quickly. But what that does mean is that you get to, it's not long till you can go into the shops and see the products that you've been working on. So yeah, I hope that was a good example. I tried to find one that was sort of all encompassing between lots of different senses and lots of our different companies. And yeah, I really hope that was a nice introduction to an industry that maybe is quite hidden and not many people know about, or at least not to the level of detail that we work on. As I said, this is super relevant really for anyone. It's less to do with what you're studying, it's more to do with what skills you have and what you enjoy doing. If you want to merger a bit of creativity with a bit of commercial, and also some sort of data as well. This is very much the space for people like that. So yes, thank you. That's all over from me.